Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Maverick here with another episode of Violet Evergarden. So, after the first episode, my initial impressions were, well, it's gorgeous, right? Mostly in terms of its artwork and its animation and its character design, and to me, my favorite aspect of it so far is definitely the sound design. Like the music, the background music that plays along with the scenes, as well as all the sound effects and whatnot. Absolutely brilliant. However, those are all production value kind of things, right? We haven't really gotten into the story yet, and while I'm certainly intrigued by what this main character Violet has to offer, well, we'll have to see, right? I expect in these next 2 or 3 episodes, I'll have a better understanding of what to expect within the anime, like what kind of story are we looking at, what kind of progression are we looking at. So, I think, yeah, there's not much to say right now. Let's just get right into it and see what's up. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. A Netflix original. Yamnemai. Oh, this was still during the war, right? Oh, it's stylish. This is Violet. Yep. Alright, so apparently this entire doll thing isn't as as right. So apparently they aren't actually artificial humans or whatnot. Which is, I guess, kind of a spoiler, but if it's really not, a particular, anything particularly important to the story, then I guess that doesn't matter that much. So my initial impression after learning of that is that I still think calling them dolls is kind of weird. Is she actually able to get feedback from her hands? Without feedback, it'd be pretty hard to type on stuff. No, honestly though, how the hell does that work? I seriously don't understand. Look at the detailed animation on the hands and whatnot. Hmm? That was the problem? It's a typewriter. Oh. You probably did something to piss them off. Okay, not accustomed to walking in high heels. Hmm? What? What is she trying to do here? This weapon. Well. I mean, they do say the pen is mightier than the sword. It's just a mechanical pen, right? Trying to read a lighter, too. Her dear love. Yeah. Is she truly so naive as to believe that he's still alive? Or is it, again, a case? It's like logic versus emotions. I don't get it. If you are able to read it, then why do they still need? Why do you still need? Why is this job needed? I mean, I can understand if you're illiterate and whatnot. Violet's like, love! Right. What's actually gonna happen? Wait, you never read what she wrote? Seriously? How could you guys not even just... that's kind of funny. Humans are complicated. No, obviously not. I wonder I wonder what the equivalent to this would be in the real world. Like certainly, like I was thinking, back in the 1800s and maybe even before, due to illiteracy of people, obviously there are people who can read and write who are tasked with, you know, with doing this kind of duties. Alright, so obviously this girl has a story as well. Mm. Okay, is this like an ending song right now? Okay. The industry of writing for others. So basically typewrite. Mm-hmm. Ooh. Yeah, this looks nice. Mm-hmm. It's kind of... Margrave. Alright. Nobility. I mean, not to be a downer, but I think that was kind of obvious. Alright. Anyways, I'll see you guys after this. Alrighty, and that was episode 2. Now, if I'm being entirely honest here, I'm not quite sure what exactly I'm supposed to be reacting to. This doesn't really seem like a series that's suited for making a video on, right? I think most of the time I'm just trying to observe the information and also, get all the pretty imagery that's being shown here. Because once again, this episode was beautiful, right? I especially like the part where Violet was adjusting her arm, her hands and whatnot. And again, the animation there as well as the sound effects as well, really great. But, for the actual story, well, there's not much else for me to comment on yet. I guess we're just getting started. Now, if I were to venture a guess, I'd probably say that all these various characters will probably play an important role in some way in terms of Violet eventually gaining gaining humanity, if you will, or gaining a heart, gaining emotions, which, by itself is, I also think, kind of a weird sort of concept, but I'll talk more about that a little bit later. So, beyond all that, we do get the idea of what a doll is, right? So that's, going back to what I said about some people already spoiling things in the first episode. I guess it wasn't really that big of a deal because they immediately explained in this episode, right? So dolls are essentially just typists. That's the point here. Now, with that being said, though, I do feel like this entire method of utilizing them is... I don't think this is quite, this is quite accurate to history, and in fact, I would even say it's kind of ironic in a lot of ways, right? So, writing letters for someone else, this isn't anything new. Again, I made the reference, to me, the best examples of this would be probably something related with the military, with the army. I know that, well, especially after the Renaissance era and whatnot, and when we get to, like, say, the 1700s, 1800s, and perhaps even to the early 1900s, especially for those in the military, a lot of people were still illiterate at that time, right? And especially when you're going to war, there's lots of stuff that you want to tell your loved ones, and so in that case, they would typically, send some letters home and whatnot to basically report on the current situation and so on and so forth. And typically, at least as far as my knowledge, this role would mostly be done by the chaplains, the priests in the military, or non-combatant roles. And, it kind of makes sense, right? They're there to care for the mental well-being of the soldiers and ensuring that they have a good, healthy relationship with their family also falls into that category as well, right? Now, as for in civilian use, right, saying that you're going to specifically a service where you write letters for someone, that's something that I really don't know as much about. At least it's not particularly something I've come across in any of my studies or whatnot. Although I would presume that most of the time what works in this way would be, like, say for instance, if you lived in a village or whatnot, right? You typically have, like, maybe one guy who was a bit more who was actually literate, right? And then that would be the designated person to do these kinds of letter writing and whatnot. But for that kind of concept during that time, I'm sure that wasn't exactly a common occurrence. It definitely didn't become such a commercial service, right? I don't think so. I mean, do correct me if I'm wrong, because this is, a very particular facet of history that I've really never really touched upon. But if there is precedent for this, well, let me know, because I am kind of curious about all this. Now, the reason why I'm saying that this is quite ironic is what they're doing here really, to me, kind of goes against what a typist or what a stenographer should be, right? Or indeed, it even goes against what the literal meaning of an auto doll should be, right? If you think about auto doll, you would think about something that's more similar to a machine, right? So basically, you say what you want, and then the auto doll would just type out what you said. And that's the same thing for typing and for stenographing as well, right? You typically value people who can, or indeed people are encouraged to not have any of their own feelings and thoughts within the things that they type, but instead to type word for word exactly what has been said to them in order to be put into the record, into a document, into a letter, so on and so forth, right? So in this way, actually letting them have creative freedom and whatnot, this is definitely a pretty... I definitely feel like this is a unique concept that probably wasn't never happened in history, right? If you do have the creativity or whatnot, it's the person who's employing the typist, and the creativity comes from them. It's not like please, this is what I want to express. Please put this down into words in another way that is more suitable, right? It's definitely. Though I guess the irony of the situation is part of what this series is supposed to be built on, it kind of exploring Violet as well, and how she eventually gains her emotions and humanity, her heart, if you will, right? But I just find the whole situation kind of funny, because if you really want to think about it, Violet would be the most she would actually be the most suited for a typist job than any of the others, right? Because she's definitely someone who receives orders and follows them to a T. She gets what you're trying to say and she types it out in the most direct way with no ambiguity and no sort of nothing to cover it up, nothing to hide it or anything, right? And that is actually a great quality you want to have in your typist, in your stenographer, and yet in this kind of situation, in this sort of context, it's completely reversed. So I do find this situation ironic and kind of funny and amusing as well. And that's probably for us for a particular reason, right? So we'll just have to continue on and see. Now, finally, I'm not going to go too much into all the other characters and so on and so forth. Let's just talk a little bit about Violet, right? Now, specifically, I do find the entire concept of her not having emotions, but yet having emotions also kind of peculiar, right? Because obviously she feels emotions. She feels sad. She feels disappointed. She feels, she sometimes she feels happy, she feels relief. We clearly see her reaction towards the brooch that she was able to get back and whatnot. She's fully capable of feeling these kinds of emotions. So really, the only thing in question is maybe she doesn't know how to describe accurately in words these emotions. But the fact that you encounter emotion and this is making you feel good, this is making you feel bad, that should be natural to any person. And in fact, she should know that, okay, this is feeling good, this is feeling bad, because otherwise she wouldn't have any kind of emotion or expression at all, right? So yeah, I definitely feel like it's a lot more complex than just saying, oh, she seemed like an expressionless doll or whatnot, or she doesn't understand emotion or whatnot. She definitely has emotion. It's just a matter of how to put it into words or maybe more complex emotions or whatnot. But at the very least, we know that she feels, right? So that's a good starting step, because if this was actually a situation where she didn't feel anything at all and she was literally emotionless, right, didn't really have anything that she wanted to do, wouldn't feel sad or disappointed if she couldn't do her job correctly, wouldn't feel relief when she got the brooch back, this kind of thing. If it was starting from that kind of perspective, from that kind of case, then it wouldn't really, we'd have to be spending a lot more time in order to find out what can actually push her buttons, so to speak. And yet in this case, we can clearly see that there is already a basis, a foundation there, right? Even back in the first episode, when we saw the flashback scene between her and the Major, we saw her also feeling fear, feeling regret, feeling all the different kinds of emotions, watching the Major lie there. Literally dying, right? And once again, I feel like it's quite obvious that he died here. I would be completely blown away if it turned out that the Major actually survived. But, it seemed that it's a pretty foregone conclusion now, even back in episode 1. And the fact that Violet can't recognize this, again, I'm not quite sure if it just doesn't. It's kind of weird to me, because it's not like she doesn't understand the concept of being mortally wounded, of being injured, and indeed of death, right? She's on the battlefield. She understands these kind of things. So why can't she actually accept the fact that the Major has most probably perished, right? Is it because is it actually because of the fact that she has these hidden emotions, so she's in denial, right? So that would be another layer to add up onto this, right? Because being in denial in itself is a result of having emotion, right? So even just from that perspective, I'm kind of feeling that she's just probably much more emotionful. Is that a word? Then she's much more full of emotions than these first 2 episodes and the comments from other people are leading us on to, right? Then again, she could just be naive as well, but then to me, I feel like that would be kind of like a weird kind of point, considering that she has spent most of her childhood literally facing life and death situations, right? But anyways, that's just, these musing sections are just sort of like a think out loud session for me, at least for now, when we don't have any more concrete information to go towards. Various guesses that I like to put out, and various aspects that I am interested in and whatnot. It's all put in here, so sometimes it might seem like rambling, but hopefully, maybe sometimes I'll bring up some stuff that, hey, maybe you guys haven't really thought about before, or perhaps it's getting you thinking and challenging some beliefs that you already had before as well. Or I could just be talking completely out of my ass, in which case, feel free to call me out on that as well. Alright, that's it for episode 2 of Violet Evergarden, and well, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.